Friday has now climbed to more than 100 people, and an unknown number of others are missing. Search and rescue teams are wading through mud-piled riverbanks as more rain and thunderstorms threaten the region, but hope was fading of finding any more survivors 4 days after the catastrophe. Camp Mystic, a Christian all-girls summer camp, confirmed at least 27 girls and staff among the dead. 10 girls and a camp counselor are still missing. Meanwhile, the White House has rejected suggestions that budget cuts at the National Weather Service could have inhibited the disaster response. At least 84 of the victims, 56 adults and 28 children, died in Kerr County, where torrential downpours swelled the Guadalupe River before daybreak on Friday, the July 4th public holiday. According to the county sheriff's office, about 22 adults and 10 children are yet to be identified. Back home in Nigeria, the Labour Party has announced plans to expel its 2023 presidential candidate Peter Obi over alleged anti-party activities. The announcement came during an interview this morning with National Publicity Secretary Abayomi Arabambi, who confirmed that a National Executive Council meeting will be convened to recommend Obi's expulsion, which would then be ratified at the party's next convention. Arabambi accused Obi of engaging in dual-party allegiances and aligning with what he described as a Yahoo coalition. Let's take a listen to Abayomi Arabambi speaking this morning on the situation with Obi at the Labour Party. The next voice you hear will be that of Abayomi Arabambi.
Julius Aburi as National Chairman and Alhaji Farouk Umar Ibrahim as the National Secretary. Probably maybe the people you are trying to refer to, are those, group of Nenedius man who Mr. Peter Obi has graciously, appointed as the chairman of the Ayam Festival Committee, because we do not have in our party up to today, in our constitution, even that is even with INEC, we do not have anything like a caretaker. And also, section 222 of the constitution is very clear that political parties shall not be headed by any caretaker. They must be duly elected. So our constitution is in line with the constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So we do not have group. Secondly, let me make it very clear. We are convening a NEC meeting where he will be expelled. He was on suspension before he now went ahead to do the anti-party activities. You don't go and join a political party, and at the same time, you still put your leg in another political party. He knows it is unconstitutional for him to belong to two political parties at a time. They have been able to deceive him to their side, and there he shall remain. So a NEC meeting is going to be called shortly, where Obi will be recommended for expulsion, and that will now be confirmed finally at our convention in line with our constitution and in line with most political party constitution. Because when you want to expel an individual who is a member of your party, but that is not doing things in tandem with your constitution, you go to NEC and you expel him and now recommend the final expulsion to the convention. So Obi will be expelled from our party. He's no more a member of our party. It is not within his right to tell us that I'm still a member of the Labour Party, and at the same time he will not be obnobbing, with what we call, the Yahoo coalition. We are not going to accept that.
All right, Mr. The Labour Party presidential candidate in the 2023 general elections, Peter Obi, has lamented as violence marred a student union election in Auchi Polytechnic, Edo State. A video had emerged on Sunday showing students in Auchi Polytechnic running for their lives as they were being shot at during their student union election. VP News gathered that the violence left 2 students dead and several others injured. Reacting via a statement posted on his social media platforms on Monday, Obi remarked that what is happening in the country today is a reflection of the decay of civility and orderliness. He said, when the leaders choose to conduct their public and personal lives with bad behavior and rascality, such lawlessness is ultimately normalized. Let's take a listen to the students lamenting and running for their lives during the chaos that happened at the SCG elections in Alleges Polytechnic. If you're also watching us via YouTube, you can also see that video up on the screen right there on YouTube. Let's take a listen.
Save me. Jesus, save me. My sister. This thing is going to reach here. This thing is going to reach here. This thing is going to reach here. Oh, God, please. God, please.
At their SCG election that was over the weekend, you can hear students lamenting in the background and running for their lives while this was going on. Meanwhile, the African Democratic Congress ADC is about to face a leadership crisis as 3 aggrieved members of the party have filed a suit at the Federal High Court in Abuja seeking the removal of the Senator David Mark-led interim leadership. The lawsuit comes just days after the party unveiled its new leadership in a coalition-backed ceremony where former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, 2023 Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi, and several other politicians publicly endorsed the new direction. The move has reportedly unsettled not just some ADC members but also powerful interests in the presidency who are accused of quietly working to divide the coalition's base through political pressure and inducement. In a new development, plaintiffs Adeyemi Emmanuel, Ayodeji Victor Tolu, and Haruna Ismaila are challenging the legality of the appointment of Senator David Mark as interim national chairman, former Interior Minister Rauf Aregbesola as interim national secretary, and ex-minister of Sport Bolaji Abdullahi as interim national publicity secretary of the ADC. The plaintiffs are asking the court to determine, among other things, whether the appointment of the coalition-backed figures violate the ADC Constitution 2018 as amended, and whether such leadership changes can lawfully occur without a properly convened national convention or decision of the party's National Executive Committee. Survivors of the Yellowater attack, currently taking refuge in a temporary camp located at the international market in Makurdi, have rejected the calls to return home. No fewer than 30,000 displaced persons from the Yellowater community are currently taking refuge in the camp after the gruesome murder of about 200 people in coordinated attacks on the community by suspected armed headers on June 13. VOP News gathered that traditional rulers and stakeholders from the community were mounting pressure on their people to return home as a result of the infiltration of the temporary camp by other displaced persons. One of the displaced persons, who identified himself as Uker Amos, explained that the infiltrators have continued to feast on the humanitarian support supposed to be for survivors of the Yellowater community. Meanwhile, the publisher of Ovation magazine, Dele Momodu, and former presidential aspirant, has alleged that Nyesom Wike, minister of the FCT, paid as much as $30,000 per delegate during the People's Democratic Party (PDP) 2022 presidential primaries. Dele Momodu, who contested the same primaries eventually won by former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, made the claim on Monday while speaking on a television program. According to him, a former Nigerian president had warned him, that is Dele Momodu, against pursuing his presidential ambition, citing the enormous sums reportedly being offered to delegates by Wike. Let's take a listen to Dele Momodu actually speaking on this development, where he said that Wike paid as much as $30,000 to each delegate at the 2023 PDP primaries.
I also had presidential ambition. Wike cannot take competition with anybody. So I now wrote a letter to him that my biggest asset is my access to the high and mighty and also the ordinary citizens of Nigeria. Everywhere I go, I meet them. And I told him that in the north of Nigeria, you know something, Wike has a pathological hatred for the Northerners because of whatever, I don't know. So I told him, I said, it's going to be difficult for him to get the ticket of the PDP. And I wanted to announce to him that in case he decides not to run, he should support me. From that moment, he got angry. But what I said came through. A former president of Nigeria sent someone to me, someone very, very top, that they should tell me not to waste my money on the PDP primary, that Wike had raised the stakes to $30,000 per delegate, 30,000 times 774 delegates. Of course, if you were to sell my family from fourth generation to the last generation, there was no way I was going to come up with that.
You might be tempted to laugh, but that is indeed not funny. That was Dele Momodu speaking about how Wike reportedly paid about $30,000 to 774 delegates during the 2022 PDP primaries. Now, I'm being joined by Ambassador Victor Atewe, all the way from Abuja, who will shed light on the issues on the news this afternoon. Good afternoon to you, Ambassador. It was a pleasure to have you here.
Good afternoon, and thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. Ambassador Atewe, while I was compiling the news and, we're talking about this situation and I was trying to get this excerpt to play, someone said audio money, that is to Nigerians, when they hear this amount, it's just audio money. But $30,000, Ambassador Atewe, multiplied by 774 delegates, is about $23,220,000, which is 35,188,850,000 Nigerian nairas. 35 billion for if we can spend 35 billion for primaries, how much would he have spent on campaign if he had actually emerged as the PDP presidential flag bearer? I mean, to Nigerians, we just hear this amounts of money, and I actually converted this by the exchange rate today. I know that in 2022 it would have been lower, but really, for Wike, who's a career politician, 35 to be able to expend up to 30 billion for presidential primaries, as Dele Momodu is a legend. I just want to hear what you have to say about the situation.
Well, it's what our political space have turned into, and the truth is, politics in Nigeria now is a money play politics. It's about buying. That's why you see when they get there, they just try to amass as much as they can because of how much they've spent. From Nigerian politics, to be honest with you, if you're into the game and you perhaps maybe preview to be around them, it's expensive and it's money consuming, So with what Dele Momodu as alleged, it's not far from the truth, because even in the APC primary, I mean, if you preview or you were told how much was spent, by today's president just to
when they peg the forms at 100 million naira, you'd know that whoever is going for that definitely should have a lot of money.
You should have what it takes to get you there. It's not for. I mean, I saw a video. I think it was. I can't recall now, but a video that explained how much you need to vie for any political position in Nigeria as it stands today. So if that's what he spent, of course, I mean, if that's what, because at the time, I mean, Dele Momodu was a very close ally. I mean, a close pally of Wike. So, and for him saying that, he's talking from the knowledge part, from the inside part. So I don't think that it should be far-fetched. And when Nigerians are saying audio monies, it sounds audio to you because you look at it, the volume of the money. To these people, it's nothing to them. I mean, Nigeria, way back then, where we used to hear million, hundreds of million, now it's billions. So, and before you know, now we graduate from billions to trillions, where people just spend trillions and you find out that it's nothing. And it goes to show how corrupt the system has been. I mean, if someone had to pay that much money to buy delegates and maybe upon winning the tickets and of course vying for the main election and winning, what do you expect that person to think about development, think about healthcare, about giving the Nigerian nation good governance, or thinking about how to make the life of ordinary people better. No, it has to, because he has invested. So that is why we are calling that our political space should be devoid of that. I mean that's why the likes of Peter Obi had to step out, because it was so monetized that if you don't have money to play to throw around, nothing for you. And if you have people like that, so we'll end up bringing leaders who are corrupt, who are thieves, who have embezzled money, who have if you are a corporate or a legit business owner, I mean it's going to take you years upon years to amass such wealth to yourself, and you just can't trade it by just doling out and giving to delegates just to buy the votes. You have to come with your manifesto, present yourself as a credible candidate, and of course leave it for the delegate to decide. But we know how it has been, and now it's getting more clearer. The corruption is getting more pronounced. People are coming out to be boastful about spending money, buying votes, and all that, and which is a crime. But
Ambassador Terwe, based on what you said about it, being so difficult and so expensive to run for public office, would you say that the political elite make it intentionally so that Nigerian youth who are just coming up, who don't have this amount of money, cannot even think about having any political ambition? Or is that also the reason why Godfatherism thrives? Because now you don't have this amount of money, you have to get someone who has that money to back you up, which means if you do finally get into office, you have to do their bidding.
Yes, in all honesty, not just Nigeria. I think it's a global thing. I mean, to go into politics is expensive. In America, bulk of the money goes to advertisement, goes to media. Media is very, very expensive in America. So it takes a lot for you to come into to vie for any political position or show interest in politics. So you have to spend. But what we are saying is, yes, going to what you said, it's hard. It will be hard for you to, wish away Godfatherism. They will always be there. There are people who are political financiers. There are people who go bring out the money and they have their interest. So when you get into it, then of course, you hear politicians go to bank to get loan just to run for public office. And if they go into it, so they have a payment terms on how the loan will be paid. So you find out that when they go into the first year in office, they're paying back loans because they took loan to run for that office. So that's why you see that you have less development anywhere in Nigeria, and of course in countries that practice such. So it will be really hard to wish away Godfatherism in politics. That is it. It's very hard. It's close to impossible. It's really close to impossibility. So, but with the political corruption or the monetization of our political space now, it's becoming more appalling than it used to be. This has always been the case right from the advent of the 1999 democracy. When we go back into democratical system of government, it has always been the case. But now it's the of course who has the money and of course ability to buy power. So that has always been the case.
Ambassador Terwe, with the political elite actually feeding fat, right? Many Nigerians who cannot access such level of wealth or cannot even imagine such level of unbridled wealth and having the capacity to do so much are being left to rot in poverty. The presidency has rejected the recent IMF report on Nigeria's inflation and the poverty level, labeling the report as fatalistic and saying it is an unhelpful assessment of ongoing reforms of this presidency. The IMF actually raised concerns over the economic trajectory of the country. No matter the grammar we come here to speak, Ambassador Terwe, every day, right? What Nigerians want to do is wake up and see that the price of fuel has actually come down. What Nigerians want to see is wake up and see that they can buy a cup of rice for lower than they bought it yesterday. Nigerians want to be able to buy cooking gas for lower than they bought it yesterday. So if the IMF noted that inflation remained persistently above 20%, which many Nigerians will tell you is even way higher than that, probably double, food insecurity has deepened, the IMF recommended firmer monetary policies, effective budgetary discipline, and better redistribution of fuel subsidy savings into critical infrastructure and social safety nets. Recall how President Bola Tinubu keeps saying he inherited a dying economy, but then he seemed to go on a buying spree, yachts, vehicles, and all of that. for many Nigerians, the poverty levels and the purchasing power keeps going down every other day. If the presidency rejects the advice or the suggestions to actually make life better for Nigerians, or what they can do to reduce poverty, does this actually show you that they intend to make lives better for the people?
You see, in all honesty, you wouldn't expect any government to just where sometimes when you tell truth to power, they tend to turn a blind eye to it as not to accept that. The truth is, if you walk around the street of Nigeria as we speak now, people are poorer than they used to. The buying power declining on the rise. The inflation is even more than the report the IMF gave. And you see, the government of the day, some would say they are trying all they can to see how they can, with all their policies, to see how they can better the life. And some would say it's, at the long run, Nigeria will begin to benefit. But like what you just said, the truth is every Nigerian right now don't care. Whatever policy, as long as it doesn't affect their life positively, you're doing nothing. My teacher way back in school then would say that the essence of budget is to make sure I have food on my table. So if I don't have food on my table and I'm not better off than I used to be, and it's for me, it's your policy, it's an anti-people policy. So the government, its veiling sense, has shown to be not people-centric government in terms of its approach to things, and trying to just make sure that what we're doing is it's okay. We're making sure that the Nigerian people are living well and better. I don't know who among maybe their friends or cohorts are the one living better, and just try to whitewash the whole thing and downplay what Nigerians are going through. This goes to show the insensitivity of our leaders and how they see us. Because what makes a leader is the ability to have empathy and the ability to come down and listen to what the people are saying or going through. So them not accepting, that's the fact. You can't run away from the fact. You can't run away from the fact that the cup of rice now that they used to buy before is not the same price. Just four cube of four tomato now is going for as high as 1,000, if not more than that. So we're in a country where we're in a sorry state as it stands. So the political elite will continue to feed fat. Those that are benefiting from the so-called subsidy removal and, of course, the distribution, as they say, that the governors are earning more and people shouldn't, hit on the president. People should go and, to the governor and ask the right questions. And of course, them not putting the money in critical infrastructure infrastructure is really one of the problems we're having. Our healthcare is deteriorating. What's it called now? Most of you traveling from Abuja to Lagos, it's like a death trap because the roads are in a sorry state, even though they come up with different reports that they are fixing this. It's really it really saddens me every time I wake up and I see this news, and it just tells me that we just need Nigerians, we deserve better.
It's quite unfortunate. Let's talk about party politics, where the Labour Party has said they're set to expel the 2023 presidential candidate, that is Peter Obi, over what they've called anti-party activities. This actually has to do with him being a part of the ADC coalition. National Public Secretary Abayomi Arabambi confirmed that there will be a National Executive Council meeting. It will be convened to recommend Obi's expulsion. That will also be ratified at the party's next convention. But here's the thing. He does not recognize the Nenadi Usman Caretaker Committee, which Obi and Abia State Governor Alex Oti recognize. He recognizes the Julius Abure faction of the party. Right? That's the faction of the party that he recognizes. He says that this coalition is a Yahoo coalition, and if Obi will not resign on his own, then he will be expelled from the party. What's your take on that?
Arabambi has been known to be witch hunting Peter Obi. You recall that this is a man who, during the other faction, Labour Party leader, I've forgotten his name right now. That came
That's
out.
Apapa.
Apapa, yeah, Apapa. This was the same person who was the spokesperson, and at a point was moved to was now at work with Abure. Yeah, from different quarters. I mean, different quarters have been saying that Abure is a mole of the APC. How would you explain your presidential candidate that brought in 6.1 million votes? Are you expelling? I mean, power before Peter B. Where's Labour? I mean, power before P2B, where is, who knows, who even knows if Arambambi exists, And this, I mean, a party that you have a governor, you're expelling a governor, just one governor, and that is doing exceptionally well, and you have your senator, you're expelling them. Does that not show that you're trying to divide, you're scattering
So
your own
they should
house?
allow him be one leg in and one leg out of the Labour Party. Is that better?
That's not what I'm saying. As it stands now, there are two factions. And based on the Supreme Court judgment, the Supreme Court has said that they should go and fix their house. It's a party problem. The party should be allowed to solve its own internal problem. So therefore, that was how they came about. I mean, the Usman-led
Caretaker committee, yes.
Yes. So that's the recognized party. The committee that's recognized by Labour. But of course, giving to the faction. The Abure faction that is supported by the High and Mighty, just to make sure that there is division in the House and Labour. One would expect that Arambambi would say such, and giving to his stance. These are people who have always been to have been seen to work with the ruling party. So what we want to say about them? So, his claims and his this thing, well, even though it's constitutionally right, you could see that there's a bit of bias and witch hunting beneath his voice and beneath his submission. So, but one would have thought that you rather than told that way, if at all you meant well for the party, you told the side of reconciliation and see how you can merge the party together and of course come out well in the next election, not to further divide the party. Or you want to, so if you expel Obi, you expel the Abia state governor and all that. What are your best foot you're putting forward? Labour is just one party that, because of the advent of these people that came into the party have life. So now, because of that, and you are working hard to see how you can divide and divide the house, and of course see how the party can go, in disarray and all that. So, and of course, Peter Obi has come to say that he's still with the Labour Party. However, going to work with the coalition. Coalition if their mandate align. And we've seen that in PDP, where Wike is openly working for the APC and belongs to the PDP. So it's a new political trend. So what is good for the Ganda is what is good for one is good for all. So everybody should since the new politics has been practiced and nothing has happened to Minister Wike and others who are playing anti-politics, so the same thing can be applied to other parties.
Let's quickly talk about a very tragic situation that happened over the weekend at the SUG elections in Auchi Polytechnic. I don't know if you've seen that video making the rounds. You can see armed uniformed men in that video. You can see tear gas in that video. You can hear students lamenting. You can see students running. You can see students lamenting, oh, why did I come out today, and calling on God to help them. Peter Obi posted about that, saying that there is a structure of criminality in the country which is a reflection of the decay of civility and orderliness, and that if students, Ambassador Atewe, if SUG election and they're throwing tear gas, and students are being shot at, to the extent that 2 students died and others were injured for SUG election. What will happen at the by-elections? What will happen for local government elections? What will happen during the general elections? Have the Nigerian institutions or the Nigerian psyche become so balkanized that we cannot do things orderly without resorting to violence and chaos?
You see, the video that video that made the round over the weekend, it really saddens my heart. It shows the decay in our political structure, and of course in our system in Nigeria, where just like what Peter Obi said, we no longer do things with civility. it has always been resulted to, given to look at elections. Local government election turns into war where people, tear gas has been thrown at people, civilians and all that. Just imagine an SUG election and that turned to be something whatnot. So it's really sad, and it goes to show how degrading and how polarized our political space have become, and if cares are not taken, we'll find out that 2027 election, it will be worse off, because we are breeding angry people who do not believe in the rule of law, or who do not believe in doing things appropriately, but resort to violence to get it. Because how would you explain an election, the previous past election, the presidential election, where it was captured on camera, where people would say that if you don't vote for this party, don't come close to the polling booth, and there are police behind them and couldn't do anything. And you find out that their choice candidate emerged the winner. If they can do that and get away with that free, that will be replicated across board, and that's what you see in our university, which ought to be an environment of learning, but has turned to be a battleground, a chaotic space. An election that should be strictly be student affairs, and that turned to be another thing that we can't say. So it's really a story state, and I think that I find that all stakeholders across board need to needs to wake up and see how we can save our next generation, or save this generation if we can, or better still, start working on saving the next generation, because it's really the bad side to behold. And that's why you see that people who have good intention to vie for political space, but really don't like to get themselves involved in hooliganism, or get themselves in crisis, or in violence, whatever you might call it, want to leave the space. Of course, like they tell you that it's a very dirty space to belong. It's a space that is a dirty game. So, but we can't just leave it for the dirty people to be there and expect that the dirty people will give us the life, and the life we so much desire or want as a nation. We must, as Nigerians, the good people must come into the fore and see how we can, save ourselves, and of course save our country from those who are bent on destroying it by any means possible or necessary. So it's really sad. It's a sad one, and I hope that the school admin or the school authority would do the needful, even though we know where it would end. It might just be some habit, but let them listen to try. For
is going to reach here. This thing is going to reach here. This thing is going to reach here. This thing is going to reach here. Oh God, please, God, please, oh. Jesus, who save me? Who save me? Jesus, who save me? Jesus. My sister. This thing is going to reach here. This thing is going to reach here. This thing is going to reach here. Oh God, please, God, please, oh. Jesus, who save me? Who save me? Jesus, who save me? Jesus.
And also, that the leadership of the party party was resolved. They all agreed to resign to allow Senator David Mark be the interim national chairman, while Rauf Aregbesola becomes the interim national secretary, and ex-minister of sports Bolaji Abdullahi becomes the interim national publicity secretary of the ADC. They want the court to determine, amongst other things though, whether the appointment of these coalition-backed figures actually violates the ADC constitution. If it does violate the constitution, how come the leadership of the party were so willing to drop their mantle and push it over to other people who just joined the party less than 72 hours?
Because the case has been dragged to court, one will not be, it's inappropriate to really comment on it. The legal people say it's a contempt, kind of. So, but I think what we just see there is that, in every political party, there are political opportunists. There are people who take advantage of anything they see, anything and everything they see, to launch attack or to make themselves relevant in the scale of things. Or you understand? So we see that happening, but of course, let's see what the court would say. Is meant to happen. You are not meant to. I mean, it's a political party. It's not. Someone as experienced as Senator David Mack. A seasoned politician would expect such, and I foresee that it will be resolved. These are just people who just want. Who wants to. Who feel that the law
they are trying to gain relevance with this whole situation.
Yeah, so it always happens in any political space. There are people who always look for opportunity to launch their relevancy, and of course to come on decision table to make their own input and decision making. So that's what I see in the whole case. I don't see it as a case that would see the light of day. It's just a way of perhaps maybe a midst of distraction. Some quarter would say maybe they're being sponsored by the ruling party to just put some just to make it, just to kind of distract them from the original goal they intend to. But you see that the interim leaders or the interim leaders here, as it stands now, they're not worried, and it's been addressed in court, and I feel that the right thing will be done. But that for me, I think it's like a distraction. It shouldn't be paying more attention to. Because it's an open thing. They willingly withdrew and handed over the party to David Mark and of course Aregbesola. So for them coming out and seeking redress in courts, it's within their rights though as a member. So I think that they will be well attended to, and of course the proper thing will be done on that matter.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Victor Atewe, for joining me on the World News at 12 this afternoon. I really do appreciate your presence and your input. It honestly has made all the difference. Have an amazing day. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining me this afternoon. You have been listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. Just before we wrap up, let's take a look at the top stories again. You heard the Texas floods death toll climbs to more than 100. Labour Party moves to expel Peter Obi. Obi laments gunfire and death mar Auchi Polytechnic SUG election. Displaced Benue residents reject return amid insecurity, and Dele Momodu alleges Wike paid $30,000 to 774 delegates as PDP presidential aspirant in 2022 primaries. That is a wrap on the World News at 12. My name is Chioma Innocent. Please follow our social media handles at VOP903FM. For coverage of your live event and brand news mentioned in our news bulletins, do send a mail to news@voiceofthepeople.ng. Good afternoon and thank you for listening. Do stay tuned. Coming up shortly will be Matters with Solomon Ofem.